Hi, I'm Carl with Firearms Gun Range, and we're back for this week's pro tip. We're talking about another oldie, but a goodie, one of the basic fundamentals: sight alignment, sight picture. We are back. Every modern handgun is going to have some means of aiming. Most are going to have a front sight post all the way up front here. And then on the back side, what I call the rear sight notch. And it is made up of typically 2 posts on either side of the notch. Now, when we aim, we have to move both the front and the rear sight system into what I call the natural line of sight. And what I'm talking about is the imaginary line from our eyeball to whatever point we are looking at. All right? So if you are aiming at a paper target, imagine that straight line from your eyeball straight to the target. Both the front and the rear sight have to be in that natural line of sight. We can't have one in, one out, other in, other out. Both of them have to be in that straight line. Now, when it comes to alignment, we have to be very particular about how we line up the sight. Pretty rudimentary. Most folks understand that the front sight post fits inside the notch inside there. But we're going to take a break, set up this drawing board, and I'm going to draw some images for you guys so we can see what it looks like. We'll be right back.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, guys, we're back. I grabbed the whiteboard so I can draw sight alignment for you guys. I think kind of seeing a big image and maybe somebody explaining it to you may help some people understand sight alignment better. All right, so I have a series of colors here, which we're going to use so we can tell the different parts of the sights. First, we got red. This is going to be the front sight post, and this drawing is going to be from the shooter's point of view. All right, so we have, all right, front sight post. You might have a dot on yours, you might not. We don't care about the dot. Next, purple. This is going to be the rear notch, which is made up of 2 posts on either side. About the dots. All right, so again, this is point of view to the shooter. You have our front sight post and then our rear notch made up of 2 posts on either side. Now, when it comes to alignment, I like to use the phrase equal height and equal light to help determine how to line them up properly. So let's talk about what that means. First, equal height. I like to look at the tops of the 3 posts in the sight system. You're going to be relatively flat, except for that one there because I can't draw straight. But these flat portions here, we want to align on the same height. This controls your elevation. If, for example, the front sight post was up here, all right, and the 2 rears stayed where they are, then you will be angling the muzzle upwards. And what's going to happen is when the bullet hits the target, the bullet is going to be higher than where you intend it to be. All right, and vice versa. If the front sight post was lower, then the muzzle is going to be pointed downwards slightly, and this is going to cause you to hit low. So that is equal height. Notice how I did not say line up the dots on equal height. I mentioned line up the tops of the sights. I find the dots can become distracting sometimes. Folks tend to want to look at the sights themselves when lining up the dots, and that's not necessarily always the best idea. So that's why when looking for equal height, we're looking for this straight line across the top of the sights. All right, next, equal light. Now, equal light is referring to the empty space here and here on either side of the front sight post inside the notch. Now, if you've never noticed it before, next time you go to the range, you probably will notice the equal light, or what should be equal. Now, the light is going to control the windage, the left and right. All right, on my drawing here, I would say this empty space is a little bit wider than this empty space. So what that means is the muzzle is slightly shifted to the left. And this is going to cause the bullet to impact towards the left of the target where we're aiming. So equal height, right across here, equal light, the empty space on either side of the front sight post inside the notch. So that is alignment, all right? Next, we're gonna talk about sight picture. Let me erase this and we'll be back.
5 minutes later.
All right, guys, so here we have sight alignment on a target. That is my definition of what sight picture is. Sight picture, sight alignment on a target. Now, let's go back to natural line of sight. If you remember, natural line of sight, how I explained it before, is the line from your eye to your target. Now, let's look at the target. If I want to put a bullet right on the letter A, well, I'm going to be looking at the letter A. Right? That is my natural line of sight. As I bring the front and the rear sight system into that natural line of sight, I try to develop alignment, equal height and equal light. And as we see, the front sight post is oriented right over the A. Now notice, I did not draw the dots on the sights here. And the reason being is I think a lot of people have an idea where they put that front sight dot on the target where they want the bullet to go. All right? And in that case, if I were to draw this, that dot itself would be on the letter A. But now I told you before, don't worry about the dots. They can become distracting. All right? What we want to look for is equal height and equal light, and maintaining this straight line is what's important. In the image I've drawn, we have the straight line right on top of that A, where we want the bullet to go, and the sight alignment itself is covering up the lower half of the target. This is what I call the lower 50% hold, all right, where the sights are covering up the lower half of the target and we can still see the top half. So that's one good thing to look for. The trick now becomes what we do with our eyes. All right. I think a lot of folks go to the range and they practice shooting and they close one eye. All right. Typically they close their non-dominant eye. And they're lining up the front and the rear sight system in the natural line of sight from one eye. The only benefit of this method is it's easy. I typically recommend folks shoot with two eyes. Mainly because in defensive shooting, we have to incorporate the body's natural reactions in high stress moments. Think about this scenario. A bad guy's attacking you. What are you going to be looking at? Probably the bad guy. With one eye or with two? Probably with two eyes. So that is the natural reaction in a high stress moment, to look at the target with 2 eyes open. Now this becomes really tricky because with 2 eyes open, you in fact have 2 natural lines of sight, one from each eye. And they come to a point at whatever distance you are focusing on. This is why it gets really tricky and why most folks come to the range and practice and they actually just shut one eye because it's a lot easier. So what happens if you're looking at the target, focusing on the target with 2 eyes, and you throw your gun up in front of your face into that natural line of sight? Well, the front and the rear sight have to be in the natural line of sight from your dominant eye, but your non-dominant eye is going to see them as well through peripheral vision, projecting a second image. All right, this is why a lot of folks will say, well, if I use 2 eyes open, I see double. Well, that's true because we can only focus on one distance at a time. Hypothetically, we're talking about focusing on the target. Now, if you put your gun up in front of your face and you're still focusing on the target downrange, you're gonna see 2 guns. All right. One of those images is going to be lined up with your dominant eye, and that sight system is the one you want to line up equal height and equal aligned. The other ghost image, as I call it, the more and more you practice this method, 2 eyes open, target focus, that second ghost image, your brain stops seeing it as much. All right, so with a lot of practice, 2 eyes open, target focus, your brain stops noticing that second image and it starts to become a lot easier and easier. Now, I hear a lot of folks throw around the term front sight focus. All right? And up to this point, we've been talking about target focus. Front sight focus can be a very important tool as it can allow greater accuracy, especially at longer distances. So when higher levels of accuracy is required, and you might have more time to focus on a good sight picture, it might be necessary to bring that focus in from the target to that front sight, and that's going to allow you greater alignment of equal height and equal light, generally speaking, giving you better accuracy, but it does take time. For general self-defense distance practice, I usually recommend target focus. But again, when greater accuracy is required, maybe bring that focus into that front sight, see how it works for you. That's sight alignment, sight picture in a nutshell, guys. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something from the lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below or come on down to the store and we can talk in person right after you grab a delicious bite to eat at Bombshells Burgers and Barbecue. Fantastic food. Also, if you're interested in getting a sweet t-shirt or some cool stickies, stop on by batradingco.com. Got all your needs there except for holsters. Holsters, you have to go to firearmsholsters.com. They make custom holsters. They'll ship them right to you. All right. Consider liking and subscribing to our channel, and if you do so, hit that bell icon so you're notified when we upload new content. That's it for today. We'll see you all next time.